Good morning. Welcome to Caffeinate Your Career. Today's topic, how recruiters work. I'm your host, the career coach with the most, Jason Hopper. With me today is the CEO and world-renowned recruiter, Jolton Joe Nañez. Joe, welcome to Caffeinate Your Career.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm amazing, man. I'm happy that you're here.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Joe, this is your first time on the podcast, so why don't you give us your elevator pitch?
Elevator pitch. So, I'm the president of Ascend Talent Partners. We specialize in recruiting, accounting, and finance personnel. Work with a lot of companies here in the DFW area and companies international as well. As long as they've got some kind of home base or satellite here in Dallas, we'll work with them. And so that's our specialty.
Okay. And so let me ask, how did you get into recruiting?
You know what? Years ago, I had a buddy whose wife was in recruiting, and she loved the people she worked with. She liked the energy. She loved the office, and everybody else I knew was complaining about their job. So I thought, this is something I'm interested in. I'd been in sales since I was 14 years old, and I ended up working with a company that was opening a dentistry division. My dad was a dental technician and now owns and for years since I was a kid, he's been a dental technician, owns a dental technician laboratory. And so I was one of the rare people that had both a dentistry background and a sales background. So I went to work for this recruiting company to help them kick off this portion of their company.
Was it Dental One Partners?
No, it is not. No, usually the dental clinics aren't known. They're not allowed to have signs. They're not allowed to be forward facing. So the dentist comes in, looks at your teeth, does all of that stuff, and then goes, okay, well, we need a crown or a bridge or something else. They don't make them. They take that impression in your mouth and then they send it out. So they send it out to my dad. My dad handcrafts miniature art pieces to then go into your mouth. So then they go back. They're fitted in by the doctor. So my dad does all the work.
Interesting. And so you were recruiting for them?
Yeah. So for that company, they were opening a division for dentistry.
Okay.
And this was for locum tenens. So this is people who are going in to do anywhere from short term. For dentistry, it turned out to be several months at a time, usually 3 to 6 months at a time that people would go out and do that. So found my way into recruiting, and I loved it. I loved the people. I thought it was fantastic, and was in that clinical space for many, many, many years. And then at a certain point, I just felt like I wasn't growing anymore. There was nothing new to the job.
Yeah.
And a guy that I had worked with wanted me to come over to his company. They're actually located close by here, called Trintech. They do accounting and finance software. And then from there, I got into accounting and finance recruiting.
Okay. And as a recruiter, can you explain kind of the process, how you work, how you find candidates?
Well, finding candidates is interesting and difficult. Right. So you've got two kinds of recruiters. You've got your in-house recruiter that works for a company. And then you've got an external recruiter, which is what Casey and I do at Ascend.
That'd be Casey Hasty.
Yeah, that's Casey Hasty.
Shout out to Casey.
Shout out to Casey. So, yeah. So there's usually a very different way of reaching out to candidates there, right? If you work for a company, you're getting paid internally, a position opens, you fill that position. But for an external recruiter that's only working in accounting and finance, we're working with a multitude of candidates, and we will find people who are passively looking. We'll find people who have their resumes out there that apply to jobs that we post on the internet through LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, Monster. We'll use whatever fits for that particular job opportunity.
So you still use job boards?
Yes. Yeah. So we use job boards. What's interesting these days is that job boards, you post a job and you'll have 100 applicants in, hours.
Yeah, sure.
And none of them match the job. It is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Your posting will specifically say this is a 100% in-office position, and somebody will apply that lives in some other state or some other country.
Yeah.
And you have so much of that you have to filter out. So then the other half of it is people that we're then going into the market, and we're researching the kind of person that we want with the kind of background. And then we do just cold outreach to them to say, hey, are you interested in looking at opportunities? How are you doing at your job? Are you comfortable? Are you looking to move up? Are you looking to make a move? So yeah, so we're looking for those passive candidates, and that's really where we make our buck.
Okay. So a lot of rusing around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, that's a recruit. It's like a recruiter term. When you would look for candidates, and when I got trained up, that was my main focus, was those types of candidates, and I would always call them, and I always would say, hey, I've got this great opportunity. It's, it's like, I'm not you. I know you're probably happy where you are, but do you know somebody? And almost 7 out of 10 times they're like, I am kind of interested in, bam.
Yeah.
New candidate.
That's the message that I feel like every recruiter uses when they send out, let's say, just an email message or a LinkedIn message to somebody, and they say, saw your background, liked what you do. Do you know anybody that would be interested in this job? Instead of just saying like, I like you.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a I like you guy. Like I don't want to play a game of like, hey, maybe you know somebody. Like if I'm contacting you, it's because I like your background and I think you may be a fit for something.
How many candidates do you source off of LinkedIn?
Ooh, it's hard to say like percentage wise, because every job's going to be different.
Yeah.
We may get 1 or 2 from one. We may get 0 from the next. We may get 20 from the next one. So it really changes. But LinkedIn is probably the most utilized platform for us, especially in accounting and finance, because we can see their career, their progression, what they've done, and it's nice to have all that at a glance.
Okay. And do you focus on candidates that are creating content on LinkedIn?
Not necessarily. So again, accounting and finance is a little bit different animal, right?
Yeah.
If it was marketing, that would be 100%, absolute. But in accounting and finance, people think of accounting and finance people as kind of the quiet type who likes to sit in a room in front of their computers with their numbers, like leave me alone. That is not every accounting and finance person, but we're not really looking at people who are specifically making content. And honestly, in accounting and finance, you can't. There's not a whole lot to discuss with your job, because your job is the numbers and it's information that is pertinent to those companies, and those companies oftentimes don't want out in the forefront.
Yeah. So that being said, if you ran across a candidate that did have content, would that be more? Would you be more inclined to reach out to that person?
Potentially, kind of depends on the situation. Like Casey used to have a podcast, and she had somebody on her podcast that was the CFO or CEO, one of those two, of a company that she worked with for a long time. Having him come on to the show was really, really cool, because we could then point candidates to him and say, hey, go watch this podcast. So you'll get an idea of the kind of people that you're working for, the enthusiasm, what kind of company it is. It's a little harder to do in reverse, but if there was somebody out there making content, I think I would use it more for an understanding of their knowledge base, as well as just how they communicate with people, and what kind of personality type they have.
Gotcha. Yeah, our CFO, Brenda, is super personable. Like the total opposite of what the idealized, numbers person is. Like you said, quiet, just like what's it? Brenda is way outgoing. So just incredibly personable. So like you said, like that would be somebody, and Brenda doesn't really post a lot on LinkedIn. She is on LinkedIn. Hey, Brenda. But that would be the type of person that, sort of like, so let's get back to that though. So when you do talk to potential candidates you're presenting to clients, how much coaching goes into the pre-interview?
That is a balance. That's one of the reasons why it's wonderful to work with a recruiter. Even if you don't get your job through a recruiter, you'll run into a situation where that recruiter sends you out to an interview after talking to you, making sure that the job is a fit and that you have interest. And the recruiter will prep you for that interview. And we don't want to prep them so much that they know how to answer all of the questions or that they know every question that's going to be answered in the interview or asked and answered during the interview. That's not our job. We don't want to do that. What we do want to do is help you frame your resume. We want to help you frame the experience that you have and give you some insight into the best way to answer certain scenarios. Right? Those things are vastly important. I think a lot of times in an interview, honestly, we just kind of wing it. Everybody does. You prepare, you know your background. You're ready for 2 or 3 questions that you know are going to come up. You have some questions that you want to ask them, and everything else is kind of an open framework. Mm-hmm. I think that being able to have somebody to coach you to how to control that process as much as you can, and the way you want to answer certain types of situations is vastly important and a huge advantage. Right, so if you've got a candidate from somebody like us that's an external recruiter and an internal recruiter's candidate, hopefully the external recruiter's candidate is going to be a little more polished in how they interview because of the coaching process.
I think this would be a good time for the commercial.
All right.
Hey, that's a good segue. Guys, if you didn't know, we have a virtual interview practice program. We call it VIP Squared. We do it Tuesdays at 1 o'clock Central Time. It's currently free to participate. You do not have to be a client of JFS. Anybody can participate. How it works is I will take you and an interviewer and put you into a breakout room. They will interview you for 30 minutes, 30 seconds. Damn, I've had a lot of coffee today, guys. I am well caffeinated. 30 minutes in the interview, 15 minutes feedback, and then you're done. You can log out. By the end of the week, the interviewer will have sent me a feedback form, which I will then forward on to you. So by the end of the week, you'll have something tangible and in your hands of what you might want to improve upon in your interview. I currently have 7 people on the team right now. That's 7 different people that you could practice with. And I'd recommend that you do. I am full up today. We're done today. Next week, I only have 3 spots left. And if you're like, oh my gosh, Jason, I got to get into that. I need help on the interview process. Yeah, you do. In fact, the one misstep I see job hunters make time and again is not practicing enough for the interview. So, how do you get into it? Email me. My email is my name, Jason Hopper, JASONHOPPER at jfsdallas.org. It's also on my LinkedIn page. Go look it up. Hit me up if you want to do it next week. I'm going to need your resume and also a job title that you want to interview for, because I'm going to go to AI and have it list, like if you're an accountant, list interview questions for an accountant position. And my interviewer will ask you those questions specific to that job. So hit me up, Jason Hopper, jfsdallas.org. Put VIP Squared in the subject line. Get me your resume and a job title.
I'm going to interrupt. That is incredible. That's an incredible service, right? And I wish that we could do that with everybody, right? We can't. We can only do that with people that are in process or going into process to interview with the company, right? So somebody who's looking for job opportunities that's getting that feedback up front before they're going out or maybe during their process, that's incredible. That's awesome. That's a great service.
Well, if you got anybody you want to send my way, you got my information.
I mean, because I have people that I know that are not in the accounting and finance realm that are looking for opportunities, and yeah, I could absolutely. I'll get them over to you.
Yeah, it's and here's the other part. Like again, I have 7 people on the team. You could go through 7 different interviews, and everybody has a different personality. Mm-hmm. That's what's important too, because as you know, sending people off to your clients, every manager is going to be a little bit different, mm-hmm. right? And you never know what you're going to get. When I was in staffing, I would always try and prep my candidates as best as possible. Like, hey, you know what? Owen's a really straightforward guy. Do not try to be jokey with him. He will not like it. that kind of thing to give them some of that insight before that, because I want them to succeed, because I don't want to have to go through the process again, and I want to start billing my client and making money, right?
Yeah. And you want that person to like have the best possible chance to, if their resume matches and their skills match and their kind of culture fit matches and everything else looks perfect, you do want them to get through the interview and do well. But yeah, if you've got a person that's going to interview them who's very stoic, and then the next person that's going to interview them is very personable, you don't want them to get stuck in that stoic mode. You want them to have an understanding of who they're going to meet with and what those different personality types look like.
For sure. Let me ask, you mentioned the resume. Joe, is there anything specific you're looking for on a resume, or what stands out to you?
Okay, so the good old-fashioned stuff, what I would say no-brainer in the recruiter realm is like readability, right? We want to be able to, there's, again, like I said, hundreds of resumes that will come through within hours. So we need somebody's resume to be clean and well organized. Everything's spelled correctly, your spacing looks good, right? So if I just pick up a piece of paper and I look at it, and then I pick up the next piece of paper and I look at it, and then I pick up the next piece of paper, I'm just looking at like structure and legibility. Then if I'm seeing the skills on the left side, if I'm reading through it quickly, and I'm seeing the right set of skills, the right progression that I need for the job that I'm trying to place, then I'm going to start diving into the details. The thing that I think a lot of people miss in their resumes is you'll see a change in resume once you start getting to a certain level. When you get to like the VP, controller, C-suite level, it is no longer, I've done task A, B, C, and D. It is, this is what the company hired me for to fix. This is how I fixed it. This is the time frame that it took to fix it. These are the measurables. This is how it's done. Versus like, I know how to A, B, C, and D. And telling you that story is a lot different than just having your list of skills.
How important is quantifiable data on the resume?
100%.
Okay.
100%. So we know that in a specific job title, you're going to have specific skills. That's going to be true for accounting and finance. That's going to be true for just about any job title, right? A salesperson, is going to be able to cold call and email and do all of those things. So when you just see those listed on a resume, it doesn't mean a lot.
No.
Right? But if you see average X number of calls, average X number of contracts, average X number of clients, average, X number of this, reduce the time to do this specific task, hit my senior level a year faster than is typical within the company. Those kinds of things, those measurables are what we're really looking for. And then the thing is to dig, for a recruiter, the thing is to dig into those and really start asking some questions.
You guys, Ascend had a post, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, about is this lying, right, on the for the resume? Yes. It's like like you were saying, get into that deeper dive of things. Mm-hmm. And my point was, if it sparked a conversation, no, it's just a good resume, right? Because that's your job, is to figure out the actual mechanics of what the person did,
right?
But if it sounds nice and you picked up the phone and called them, worked, right?
It worked. Now you've got it's a kind of a double-edged sword though, because then you're going to need to be able to back that up in a conversation.
Sure. Well, how do you feel about AI writing resumes?
I love it and I hate it.
That's a good answer. I like it.
So what we talked about earlier was, what are the ABCs of the resume? And the first thing I said is spacing and all of those things. Well, if you run your resume through AI, it's going to be perfect. Right? The layout's going to make sense. All of that stuff is going to start matching up.
Yeah. Okay. I've seen, so yes and no.
Maybe you're seeing some different.
Well, I've seen some, but it makes sense because it's the AI is writing it for the ATS, right? So it makes sense. But I have seen some that were just a catastrophe, right? I'm like, and I had a client, and I'm working on him, wordsmithing his resume. It's like, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? And he's a data scientist, so there's a lot of technical stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, I don't understand this. You need to break it down and explain this to me like I'm 5 years old, because the recruiter's not going to understand it either unless they're specifically in that field, right? But that's not the recruiter's job. The recruiter's job is to understand all the technical stuff. It's just to get a feel for the person and can they do the job, right?
That is right.
Okay. I was like, yeah.
Well, I was just thinking is there is a difference between in-house recruiters and external recruiters as well, right? So
Sure.
In-house recruiters, like you're saying, well, it depends on if the person sat in that seat. Like Casey has been a CFO of a small company, right? So she sat in the seat. She knows what people are looking for. She knows what she wants in the people that are working underneath that leadership. And that's a very different thought process than even myself, who's been in recruiting for 19 years. But I will never have the level of understanding that she has in that regard. Now, mind you, I've talked to hundreds of thousands of people and gone through tons of resumes, and I do more of the sales side of our business. That's more of my focus. But I do dabble in the recruiting side as well, and it's just going to vary a little bit from person to person. Some people will have that deep understanding and knowledge, and other people are like, hey, here's what the hiring manager told me to look for. If I see those things, this person's going through to the next phase.
That's your typical recruiter.
Yeah, that's a tip that you run into that process more than others.
So in that regard, you're a little bit different than your typical kind of recruiter.
Right.
Okay.
And that's why we have our specialty.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I was talking to this client, and I was like, what does this mean? And he goes, oh, I don't know. AI wrote that for me. Like, he put something in there, and he didn't know.
Right.
I was like, dude, you can't put anything that's on your resume is fair game for them to ask questions about.
I would say do a lot of research on your prompt first, right? That's going to be vastly important, because if you tell your prompt, hey, help my resume match this job description that's out there so that when you submit your resume to that job, it's a good match.
Yeah.
Well, AI goes, okay, so I'm just going to make your stuff match this stuff. Versus, hey, AI, I want to make my resume match this job description as much as possible to make me the strongest candidate while staying 100% accurate to what you know based on the information I have written. Do not make anything up. Do not hallucinate. If you have questions you want to ask me that will help my resume be a better match without fabricating any truths, then if you put in that kind of prompt, you're going to get something that's a lot cleaner and a lot more understandable. Yeah, and then know your resume, right? If AI writes it and you read through it and you're like, this isn't quite right. I didn't. I said I led a team, but I didn't really have any direct reports. And my team wasn't here. My team was in India, and I really only had contact with them once a month. Like, you're starting to push the envelope.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, when you look at resumes, as far as formatting goes, you're talking about a clean format and spacing and stuff like that. Like what do you prefer up top? So, they always say, it's like, oh yeah, your recruiters, they're going to look at a resume for like 6 to 12 seconds and make those decisions. And I'm like, I don't think so. Because I was in staffing for 14 years. I can't do anything in 6 to 12 seconds.
Yeah.
It's probably more like 25 to 30 as I scan it and looking at those keywords. And I'm curious to see how you work, because how I did it when I was in staffing and how I was trained was like, you've got your job requisition, look for those keywords, and I would look at like 10 to 12 resumes and put them in, like, not physically, but sometimes put them in the good pile.
Mm-hmm.
And once I had like 10 to 12, then I'm actually going to read the thing and see, yeah, you can probably do this job. And out of those 10 to 12, I'm going to weed that down to like, 6 to 8. And then I'm going to start making phone calls. And then the phone screen is going to weed that back down to like 5.
Mm-hmm. If you're lucky.
Yeah, if I get the right, yeah. And that's because for jobs, and I want to get your take on this too, Joe, I was always told and taught, and unless it was something that we're recruiting in bulk for, like if I'm ramping up a call center, you're going to get just a lot of candidates. But if it's a specific role, and unless I'm told by the client, And by the way, I did have a few cups of coffee in the corporate world, but most of my experience was like you in third party, right? I'm not going to send more than five resumes to the client, right?
Yeah.
That's why they have me to do this job for them. And they don't want me just throwing stuff at them. They want the best people. And then out of those 5, usually it's going to be like 3 that are going to get the interviews, and then we weed it down to second interviews, and then somebody gets an offer. Mm-hmm. How did your process run? How do you work?
So it's
that's the title. That's the title. How do recruiters work? Tell me.
So I think that 6-second thing that's been going around for forever is probably, if you've got a stack of 100 resumes, yeah, some of them you're going to look at and immediately know that is not a match. That's not a fit. So next. Oh wait, this one's interesting. Good pile. And you're just sorting. You're just moving them from your pile to either one of the good or bad.
Well, so, and what people don't understand, because they're all up in arms and crazy about the ATS. The ATS is keeping me from. No, it's not. It's you. You're the recruiter. It's every ATS is a little bit different, but you're the one deciding yes, no, in looking at all the resumes that are on your dashboard, right?
We do all of ours in person. Like, we're not running an ATS match to make sure that, the ATS says, oh, this is a 60% match, 70% match, 80% match. Hey, call this person. We're not doing that.
Really?
No.
That is amazing.
It is
okay,
amazing.
Tell me, I'm super stoked about this. You got to tell me a little bit more.
Yeah. So we're not running these resumes through any kind of scanner filter first. Like, we are doing this in person. This is what people pay us for. Yeah. We're not inexpensive to work with, and a lot of times, most of the time, the companies that we work with already have an in-house recruiter. So they're hiring us for the purpose of what you said. We are going to truly vet and make sure this candidate is a good fit. And in order to do that, we really want to go hands-on. And these days, like you said, with AI writing the job description on one side and then AI cleaning up the resume on the other side to make it match as much as possible, everything looks like a match.
Yeah.
And that part has changed. And that's the part that I don't like. When I said there are things that I like, things that I don't like, that's the part that I don't like. Resume legibility is better. Now there's bullet points that people put in so that if they do go through some kind of resume reader, that those bullet points get read as things that they do and that they're capable of. But for us, we are going through everything by hand. And like where you said, oh, well, the recruiter's job, the external recruiter's job is to give you only the best candidates. Cut that down to another third, because that's how we work. If I'm working for you and I'm your third party recruiter, I do not want your desk filled with 5 different people that are a pretty solid match when I know that one of those 5 people, this is your person. So I'd rather send you that one and go, look, I think this is your person. Now, I may be wrong. Here's 3 others to go with it or 2 others to go with it. But I'm trying to cut down the amount of work that you need to do to get where you need to be.
This makes so much more sense now why you're going after the passive candidate. Mm-hmm. You're going after the people that aren't on the internal recruiter's radar.
Exactly.
That's
right.
amazing.
The passive candidate is not necessarily lining up interviews to go after the interview with you. They've got 3 other interviews, and then there's a process, and we're not sure where they're going to land. One of the things that we're looking for is reliability, right? How fast is your communication back with me? If I haven't talked to you in a month, but I know that you're passively looking, and then all of a sudden I've got a client that is a match, this is going to be awesome. So I call you and I'm like, hey, Jason, there's this company. I want to talk to you about them. You're an excellent match for them. I'm super excited about this. And then it takes you 4 or 5 days to get back to me. And then the communication is slow. That momentum tells me a lot. Right?
Sure.
That tells me, am I going to, if you schedule a time to talk to me and you don't show up, like you were talking about with your resume program, right? Or with your interview coaching. Mm-hmm. If somebody schedules a time for you and doesn't show up, then you go, oh, okay, well, if I do run across a job that looks like a match for them, are they going to keep their appointment? How are they going to make me look, right? Are they going to keep their appointment? Are they going to be on time? And then that top candidate may slide down a little bit because their communication skills aren't where you need them to be. Or you might just not call them at all because,
That's, we found out, or because we don't charge for the service, I found out fairly early in the process and creating the program that we had people doing that. They're like, they don't show up, or, oh, this came up and I had a doctor's appointment. Doctor's appointments don't just show up.
No,
It's not like same day. Oh, I got a doctor. No. But what I did and what I consulted with the team and what we implemented was, if you cancel on us, like in less than 24 hours, you don't participate ever again.
Okay.
And I didn't want that to be harsh. And yet you just said, I may not call you back at all, because you, and I don't know if you saw it the other day, but Catherine McCord did a video talking about rescheduling. Like candidate, she's fine. Like candidate, it's on the candidate side, not the recruiter side. It does happen on the recruiter side, sure, but like candidates having to reschedule at the last minute, and it's like, okay, well, we may not come back to you now. Right? It's like, I'm not just waiting for, you're not the only person I'm talking to. Right?
Yeah.
And and that's the thing. Every relationship, the communication should be back and forth. If it's not, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily malice that I might not come back to you, right? But there's 2 other candidates or 3 other candidates who are pretty equal fit or have the same kind of skills and background that you do, but they're on time and they're calling me back right away. And my momentum is just going to naturally shift to that person who is giving more back to me.
Yeah.
Right? Who do you think I want to help more?
That's right. Well, that's the thing.
I'm a human being.
It's people like being a recruiter. It's almost like a thankless job, right? Because there's a lot that goes into it. But like and people give, I think recruiters get a bad rap a lot of the times, and it's not anything that specifically you did. You want to fill the job for the client. You want the best candidate. But if people aren't responsive, that's not on you. You can only control your process. And like, if people aren't talking to you, okay, this person is, or they're responding. Or like, I tell my clients, like, it's always a good idea. Like, I get it. Like, the phone rings and you're like, ooh, I don't know that number. That could be a telemarketer. And you don't get the phone. And it's not. It's Joe. Joe's calling, right? It's like, get an app or get a Google phone number. Like, get a dedicated phone line so that when that rings, you know that's a recruiter calling. Because I've been there and I know exactly what happens. I'm going to leave a message, and I'm curious what you think. Because I do know some recruiters, if you don't pick up the phone, they don't leave a message. They turn around and send a text message and say, hey, it's Jason at, Ascend, and I have this great opportunity. Call me when you get a minute. Do you do anything like that, or do you just leave voicemails?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
We'll do text messages and voicemails for that side. And then I would say, if you start to get in process with a recruiter, save them into your phone.
For sure.
It's not that hard.
I still have recruiters. I don't think some of them don't even work at the same company anymore.
Yeah.
But I still have like a whole bunch of people in my phone, like or they're on my LinkedIn too. Like I can find people. It's not that hard to find people.
But if you're truly interested in looking for a new job opportunity, let's say you're that passive candidate, and you go, you know what? I've been a director of accounting and finance or VP of accounting and finance 3 years, 4 years, and I'm ready to move up to controller and, get that little bit of a bump in pay, the bump in title, the things that you want. Well, if you don't save that recruiter in your phone, recruiters aren't going to babysit you through a process, right? We're not going to call you every week and say, how's your job hunt going? Have you found something else, right? We're going to pop online. We're going to look you up real quick and go, oh man, Jason's still in that VP role. I know he's looking for a controller. That position has come up, it's available, it's in his backyard, like, let me get in touch. And then I call you and you pick up your phone and you go, I don't know who this is, right? That might be your only opportunity. Because I might hit up the next person who I've got kind of in my funnel of passive lookers, and that person answers the phone, or they call me back immediately and they're like, "Hey, I'm super excited. What's going on? What did you find? Glad to hear back from you. I know I hadn't heard from you in 3 months." Like, well, you hadn't heard from me in 3 months because I didn't have anything for 3 months, but I'm calling you because I've got something, and that timeliness is everything.
Oh, for sure. Because you leave a message or a text message, but like you're moving on to the next call. It's not like you're just waiting for the person to call you back.
Right.
Like, well, they'll call me back. I'll just sit here a minute. No, you have to move fast, especially because as a third party recruiter, if now, unless you have an exclusive with them, if the company's working with you, they're probably working with one or two more other agencies.
Yeah.
You've got to get the best people in front of them before somebody else submits that particular candidate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And people don't get that. I think just okay, real quick in the chat. Thank you, Rhonda Robinson. Rhonda is a career and financial coach here. She has linked up my email for VIP Squared. And Sean Van Dyke, man, you go back a long way, Sean. Sean said, my man from W.T. Haynes, that was elementary school, Sean.
Oh, wow.
I'm 53 now, bro. We need to connect on some other level, man. He said, great insight into the hiring process. Good stuff. Appreciate the feedback, guys. So what about closing? How do you want a candidate to close? Oh, well, let me back up. Because you said something that was very interesting. You were talking about, you haven't, there may be somebody you haven't seen or talked to in like 3 months. Like how many candidates do you have like on the bench?
Wow, I wish I could put a number on that. I really wish I could. I would advertise that on my website. But there's so many different positions in accounting and finance and tax and audit. You've got to include those, and then there's different levels of each one of those. You've got staff accountant, senior accountant. You move into VPs and directors and controllers and CFOs, and then that's just the vertical tier. Then you start going out. How many of each one of those and what's going on? So I may have 1 or 2 controllers.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I may have 1 CFO. I may have 15 seniors. But then all of a sudden we pick up a controller search. Well, what do you think is going to fill up? Our controller funnel is going to fill up, right?
Right.
That everything else is going to kind of start to shrink back. So it's just constant burgeoning of different positions. And I love when we have a controller search at 2 different clients that have 2 different business models. Even if they kind of compete with each other, it's like putting a McDonald's next to a Burger King. Like it actually helps everybody that they're running side by side, right? I can pull 5 or 6 candidates and say, okay, these people look like a pretty solid fit. Now, which company are they a better fit for? And then I start to kind of divvy them out.
Do you ever submit multiple candidates to multiple clients?
In what regard? Are you saying
like if you have 2 companies that are looking for controllers and you've got a stellar candidate, are you going to submit to both clients?
Depends on the situation. Depends on what's happening. That can be really touch and go. If we do it, we will let all parties know.
Okay.
I'm really against it if we can, but it's kind of hard because it depends on the position and what's involved. Some positions in accounting and finance are so specific that even though they're the same title at different companies, the type of accounting that they're doing and what's involved is going to be different if it's a manufacturing company versus a home building company versus a tech company.
Okay.
Right. So that role is going to change across the board depending on what that company is doing. There will be a lot of things that are similar, but oftentimes people find a vertical that they really like and they say, well, I really like cost accounting, and so that's going to all of a sudden narrow their vertical of the kind of companies that they work with.
Gotcha. What about I mentioned closing a minute ago. Is there any particular way that you prefer clients to close you and let them know that let them know that you want the job, that they want your job?
I don't understand. Rephrase.
Okay. When you call somebody and you tell them about the opportunity and now they're going to go and interview at your client, how do you tell them how to close the deal? Like, I want to work here. How do you coach them on that? Or do you?
That I think that somebody who's already that deep in the process with us is already pretty dialed in.
Okay.
Now it's going to be again different depending on role. If you're a CFO or a controller, you probably have that down, although there are a lot of people that do still need coaching at that level. If it's a senior accountant, they're a few years in, uh, they might need to be coached into their enthusiasm and asking the right questions.
Yeah.
When you're doing that individually, if you're in that process on your own, you're not working through a third party recruiter, you're just kind of hanging out there. What you have working for you when you're working with a third party recruiter is that we are going to give you feedback. We're going to let you know where you are in the process, because we're kind of the middleman between what's happening at the company and what their thought process is versus where you think you landed. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that have come out of an interview and gone, man, I crushed it. And recruiters are like, oh, I hate hearing that, because then you get on the phone with the client and they're like, yeah, we're not going to be moving forward with them.
Yeah.
Right. And then you've got other people that are like, I'm not sure how we did, I'm pretty interested. And then we go to the company, we find that information out. So we for us, we handle that for you.
Okay.
Now, if you're talking about like in interview to say like, hey, this job is very interesting to me, I like what you guys do. Yeah, we'll coach you through that kind of process. Like, hey, I want you to write a follow-up letter, thanking them for their interview time, letting them know that you're interested in the position. If you've got another job that you're interviewing for, let them know, I'm looking forward to hearing back from you. You're my first choice, but I am going to continue my interview process, with other companies until I secure a position. Those types of things are huge.
Yeah.
And but I think that's a perk of working through a recruiter is also if you don't do well in the interview and the client says, no, we're not going to move forward with them, as opposed to you getting either no feedback because nobody ever calls you back
Right.
On your own, I'm going to go ask, okay, well, I get that they didn't work for you. Now I need 3 tangibles of what didn't fit. And they might say, you know what, they interviewed great personality. Everything was awesome. We had another candidate that has 1 extra line of experience that they didn't have. And we're going based on that 1 extra skill. So, right, nothing I can tell you to do better in the interview. Hey, man, you crushed it. Feel confident. They loved you. This just came down to, X's and O's. This person had 1 more skill that they really need, and they had more experience in that field. But I might tell you, you know what? Why don't you, if you're not working right now, if you're looking for a job or if this is a position you really want and that skill's really necessary, you go take a little Coursera course or some little online course to upgrade that so that in the next interview you can say, when they say, you feel like, what's your greatest weakness? You can say, well, my greatest weakness is X. And but I recognize that that's my weakness. And so right now I'm working on this program to get this certificate so that I can get that updated, right? That's the best kind of way to answer that question.
Growth,
Growth, yeah.
Yeah. I think, and you said this before, and you just said like, hey, great job, you crushed it. Like, I always remind clients, like, when you get to the interview process, consider it a win. Because it is. I mean, you just said, like, you can post a job on a job board and get 100 resumes like that, right? Like, you're not calling 100 people.
Yeah.
Right? So just the fact that you got to that point is definitely a win. And something, because I 100% believe that job search it's a mindset game. And if you don't have the right mindset, it's just not going to work. Right? Because you have to remember to keep that like the positivity and everything kind of moving forward.
Absolutely.
Finding
a job is a job.
And it's hard too. It's so hard. I tell my clients all the time, look, give yourself grace because job search is hard. And people don't understand. I think a lot of it is they don't understand how job search works is part of it. They think that they're going to apply to the job and you're going to call them and then they're going to go to the interview and then they're going to go to the second interview and then they're going to get the offer. And that's really not how a lot of it works today. I mean, you were just talking about passive candidate. It used to work like that. Well, that's the other problem is job search changed and nobody told anybody, right? And so now, like especially like some of my older clients, who are like my age, like 50 and above, and they're just like, what do you mean it's like my post today on LinkedIn was your resume is not as important as you think it is, right? Because it's basically just a marketing tool to get you where you need to go, but it's not the thing.
It is a tool to capture attention, right? It
Yes.
is the title of a thesis.
Yeah, right.
But then, like,
Right.
how good is the thesis, and is all your supporting documentation there? If we're going to run with that, yeah, it's a tool to reach out, but it is not the tool to reach out. I mean, you've got to be doing everything. Especially if you're not working and you're in a position where you need to find a job, you want to find something as quickly as possible. I mean, you need to get up in the morning, get dressed like you're going to work, hop on your computer, and do everything that you need to do. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call a recruiter at a company, like if you're talking about an in-house recruiter, to say, hey, you know what? I know this is uncommon these days, but I am super excited about this position. I think I would be a great fit. Can I send you my resume? Here's another trick. Look at the company and see if you happen to know anybody that works there.
Oh, yeah.
You might find a friend that you went to grade school with who works there, and I'll call you and I go, hey, Jason, man, your company just came up with this position. It looks like a perfect fit. I would really like to get connected, but I don't want my resume to be in a sea of resumes. Do you guys have a referral program where maybe you can get some credit if you send my information over? And that's going to go straight into the hands of the recruiter.
Yep. And you just bypass the ATS.
Yeah.
And I mean, I work with clients on like working on building champions in their target company so that they can have that. And it's really like to the employee's benefit because some companies can pay thousands of dollars for referrals. We have a referral program. It's not $1,000. But we have a referral program here. Like I've referred people that have gotten hired and got some money.
Some of those big companies will offer like 10 grand.
Yeah.
I used to be very good friends with a person. We haven't connected in years, but he worked at a huge company and he had a great position there and he'd been there forever. And what he would do for fun was when a job would post, he would post it on his personal like Facebook and his LinkedIn, and if anybody in his realm connected, he would send them over. The guy made like an extra 60 grand a year.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Like 10 grand a pop if he helped them hire 6 people.
Yeah.
The company is actually saving time and money because they're saving so much process, and they're getting people who they know somebody stands beside him. He wouldn't just send anybody over. They'd have to be a good match. But the guy was making like an extra, 50, 60 a year just on the side, just making an initial connection and going, hey, here's my buddy.
Yeah. When I was on site, loved getting referrals because that's one less person I have to source.
Yep.
And because I'm on site, my employee can keep coming up to me going, hey, did you call Rick yet? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm about to call him. He's right. Now I got somebody in my face wanting to know, when can I get my buddy hired on out here, right? Mm-hmm. It's the best. Thank you, Molly. Molly in the chat said great information. Joe, we are at time.
Gosh, so fast.
It did go by fast. It always does. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. You're going to be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, on the
28th. Yes, on the 28th. Joe will be back, and we'll be talking about why companies actually hire you. Yeah. So more staffing stuff. The fun question for the day. We always like to end with the fun question. I'm going to give you an easy.
Here we go. Okay.
I didn't.
Softball me.
I didn't tell you what it's going to be before. So really easy. What are you currently obsessed with?
Oh man, I nerd out on so many things. I'm gonna pitch the Dallas Scotch Society. I'm one of the directors of the Dallas Scotch Society. Okay. We were a great group pre-pandemic. Pandemic kind of hit us because the companies that we went out and visited were just not allowed to have anybody around. But I nerd out on that. So we actually have brand ambassadors that will come from the different brands and talk us through the different liquids and how they make them and the history, and the camaraderie in the room is more important than the juice. It's an absolute blast. Great group of people.
And before we go, and before I forget, how can people get in touch with you and connect with you?
Reach out to me on LinkedIn, Joe Nañez. It's Nanez at Ascend Talent Partners. So that's with an S at the end of partners. And they're welcome to send me an email as well. It's Joe at ascendtalentpartners.co, not .com. If you put .com, it will not get to me. Yes, I have that problem a lot.
I emailed you, I'm like, is that right? Is that going to go to him?
Yeah,
we got there.
Terrible and confusing, but also sets us apart. So
that's good.
Absolutely. Please reach out to us.
Love it. Next week, we're going to have Sandy Knight on. Sandy is a former Chief Human Resources Officer, currently a career coach, and we will be talking about job search resources. So come back next week, talk to me and Sandy. And in the meantime, this has been Caffeinate Your Career for today. We will see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye.